Hi everybody, this is Wayne Davies for Spectrum Economics, and today I'd like to talk to you about Steem, Steemit, and the Steem platform in general. So I've been on Steemit, which is a social media website, should we call it, for approximately a year. Had my 1 year anniversary was about a week ago, so yay! And it's been a very exciting time, and I've been involved with quite a few different social media websites and all platforms. You know, I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Reddit. What else is there? That's Instagram. YouTube, of course. You might actually be watching this on YouTube. And I found Steemit and Steem probably to be the most interesting and most exciting, and probably has the most potential, I guess, for people joining who are creating content like myself. And if you look at it as the whole Steem platform, there's a lot involved with that. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So I'm going to be describing some of the features of Steemit and why you may want to come in as a content creator, or why you may want to come in as potentially as an investor. And also talk about some of my experience and some of the little bit of the economics behind some of the stuff, just so that people can understand it just a little bit better. Okay, so starting off, what is Steemit? What is the Steem platform? What is Steem, for example? Well, some of you may be familiar with cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin being probably the most famous as the first, and there's a few other ones. I think there's like Litecoin and Ethereum. So Steem is a cryptocurrency, okay, but it's a lot more than that, and I'll go back to that in a second. So let's just go back to what the Steem platform is. So Steemit is built upon the Steem platform, and that is a social media website. And in a sense, it is like the face of the Steem platform. You get your Steem account and you get all the information in there in regards to your posts and whatever you're doing. Some of the other applications are also built on Steem. So there's several others, such as DTube, which is kind of the equivalent to YouTube. There's Zapple, I think that is somewhat like Twitter. And there's Steemshot, an equivalent I suppose would be Instagram, and there's lots of other ones as well. There's DLive, another one that's quite interesting as well in regards to live streaming. And these platforms, these applications are popping up all the time, and they're built on this Steem platform. So what essentially is it doing is the content creators can go to these apps and they can put their content, upload their content, and if people like it, they will pay for this content. So they will give you what we call upvotes. And it kind of works like that, and there's not many other social media platforms where you kind of get paid in this same manner. I think there's a few others like Medium you get paid, but it's not quite the same. I think it's another I can't remember now, but there's a lot of stuff going on out there, but Steem, I feel, is kind of way ahead of any other competition at the moment. Okay, so you join Steemit. A lot of you want to come here as content creators, sure, and you get paid. How do you get paid? That is probably the number one question I get asked. Okay, I'm on Steemit. How do I get paid? How do I earn money? Well, you earn money through what we call upvotes. So you create a post. You could be writing about anything, you know, and then people read it, and if they like it, they'll give it an upvote. And people that are more invested in Steem can give you much higher upvotes worth more money. So if you get what we call whales, I'll discuss that a little bit later on, or even orcas, people that have a large amount invested in Steem, or what they call Steem power, your upvotes will be worth a lot more. You can earn quite a bit. So where is this money actually coming from? We talk about it's raining Steem, right? Well, it comes from what we call the rewards pool. So it's just not coming out of anywhere. It's not coming out of nowhere. It comes out of what we call the rewards pool. And where does this rewards pool come? I'll probably get onto that in a second. Okay, just take it back a step further. So in terms of when you get your upvotes, so what happens with that? So after 7 days, your post will pay out, and you will be given whatever the reward is available at the moment. So you won't get all of that. You'll get around 75% to 100% depending on when your post was upvoted, because a certain amount of money goes to what we call curation, which I'll talk about later, and that is basically rewarding people who have taken the effort to read your content and find your content. So there's some reward in doing that, and as a content creator you would also be involved in curating other people's work as well. So, and there's also something else called a downvote, and eventually it will lower the value of your post if people find your post in some way offensive or not useful to the community, or maybe your post is they think, wow, this is getting way too much money, so we want to lower it down a bit. Or even possibly take you off of the trending and the hot pages and stuff like that. Okay, so now I'm going to take you back again to what I was talking about, the rewards pool. I jumped in a little bit too quickly on that one. So what is a rewards pool? So basically Steem, the supply of Steem, is created each day. yeah, it's constantly being created, sorry, and it's going into what we call the rewards pool. And basically what happens is that as the supply of Steem increases, effectively those owners in the people, the investors, it's diluting their stake. So it is to a certain extent a cost to them. So it's not like you're getting free money out of somewhere. It does come from somewhere. In a sense, it's diluting the value of the people invested. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're creating great content. So what happens is people are highly invested. They get a little bit back for creation rewards, obviously, by upvoting your post. And then that Steem goes to you. And if your content is good, that will attract other people to Steemit. And they'll look at your content and say, yeah, this is good. We want to invest in this platform. This is quality content. I can see this platform on the go, and they'll put money in it. And if enough investment comes in, the price of Steem can still go up. So effectively, the rewards pool is bringing in people for purposes such as that. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, what I call the roles that you can get involved in on the Steem platform. So there's lots of ways you can go about earning money and taking money from the rewards pool. You can self-vote. I'll talk about that later as well. Okay, so what sort of role could you have on Steemit? Well, a lot of people come here and they hear, hey, get rich scheme. Not exactly, but that's content creators, and you could effectively make quite a lot of money. It's going to take some time. You have to put a lot of effort in. And like I've been around a year, some of my posts pay out really well, some of them not so well. So it's not really a get rich quick scheme. You're more likely to be successful on Steem than you are on, let's say, YouTube, for example, which you need to get thousands and thousands of views before you can even start earning a few cents. You could come to Steemit and you can get recognized on day one and get some decent payouts, but you've got to be patient on that. So that's why content creators could be attracted, because of those rewards, and that's what a lot of people are going to be. Another interesting group I like to call is the investor. What is an investor? For me, an investor is someone who wants to invest money. So how do you invest money? How do you invest in Steem? So if let's say you want to maybe buy Bitcoin first to get into the cryptocurrency market, and then you buy some Steem with your Bitcoin, and then you have Steem, you're holding Steem, that on its own is not an investment at this point in time. You need to convert it into Steem power, and once you have Steem power, that is also what's represented in terms of vests, and that is your stake in the company. And what happens here is there's a lot of things you can do with your Steem power. You can create content and you can earn creation rewards. You can delegate your Steem power to someone else who will do the creation, so they'll probably give you a fee of some sort. You could delegate to bots, for example, with vote bidding and vote selling. You can earn income from that. So there are ways you can earn income directly in terms of Steem as being an investment. Also, important part of being an investor is identifying good content. This is where the content creators benefit, because you as a major investment, you want the platform to do well and to attract new investors. And this new investment is going to cause the price of Steem to go up. There are a number of factors that will relate to the price of Steem. I'll talk about that later in relation to other cryptocurrencies as well. But in the long run, the quality of the platform itself, the quality of the content, and also the operations of the platform itself is going to attract people to Steem and invest in Steem power. And so far, it has done fairly well. What else is there? There's curation, like I mentioned before. And what does a curator do? And this is a curator goes out and looks for content. You like the content, you give it an upvote. People that have very little Steem, their upvotes aren't worth much, as I mentioned earlier, but it's still worth going out there and taking the effort to do that. And you could do it, there are a number of ways you could do it. You could do it on what you think is good, or you could do it in terms of what you think other people think is good. The more you have invested in Steem power, you probably need to think a little bit beyond just yourself. If you own, let's say, 1 million Steem, effectively it would be like a whale, I'll talk about that later, you'll be interested in what is going to cause the platform to grow. So you want to bring in content that you believe other people are going to like. So, for example, you might want to attract people who are in YouTube, for example, very successful YouTubers. So if they come to the platform, maybe you want to give them some of your upvotes in order to get them to stay. But even better than that is to find content creators that are basically going to be unique to Steemit, so finding your own. So it involves a lot of digging, and the more people that join, the harder that's going to get. So there's certain things you can do about that. I'll talk about delegation. You can actually get people to help you out in terms of finding good content out there. So what else is there? You could come here simply because you just want to enjoy the content. That's fine. You don't need to invest. You need to write posts and all of that stuff. You just want to come along and say, yeah, that's cool. I see something, I'll give it an upvote, I'll throw in a comment and stuff like that. It doesn't add in terms of value that much the post if you're not invested, but you get to engage with the authors and the content creators. And this is also going to be good for the future as well, because people will see the number of views, people will see the number of upvotes and stuff like that. That is an indication that the content is getting attention. And I'll talk about how that's important later on. You may also, in regards to talking about content creators, you could be what we call a casual content creator as well. And you may want to do that sort of informally, like you want to throw in a few pictures of your cats or your dogs, just write a paragraph here of your thoughts and your opinions. And that's great as well. And you're probably not going to earn a lot of money, but you might earn something. And who knows, in the future you may want to dedicate more time to Steemit. So there's not necessarily full-time content creators that are just going to be completely dedicated to spending their life on Steemit. You can be just here like once a week if you wanted to. So, there's various levels of commitment. And what I like to think though is that people come here, they're going to be doing a little bit of everything. And you can take for myself. I do a lot of content creation. I've written over now 200 posts, I think it is, 200 plus posts, on various things relating to economics. I spend a lot of time here, and I do that either directly through Steemit. I do a lot of videos, I put them on YouTube, so I'm sort of using those two applications. I haven't really used some of the other stuff that much. I know that it's out there, but I'm using what appeals to me. Also, in terms of investment, I've invested some of my own money. I got in when the price was quite low. I think it's around 90 cents. One Steem cost about 90 cents US dollars. So that was, fairly good time to get in. I was fairly happy as that, so it puts me as an investor. So again, I'm looking at content that I think is good that I want to push. Though my upvotes aren't worth a lot, but it's worth something. And I'm called what we call a dolphin. I'll talk about that later on. Also, curation side of it, that's what I mean in terms of relates to investment, looking for the quality content. And also as well, you can have vote selling, and there's vote selling bots that can do that. I'm a part of what we call Smart Steem, and they can actually use my Steem power to sell my votes so I can get some money back there. I don't get 100% of the money back, but I get a little bit back there, and that is part of promotional activities on Steemit. I'll talk about a little bit later on. Okay, so like I mentioned before, if you're a content creator, you're not going to climb to the top immediately. It takes time and it takes effort. And a good thing to indicate how good the quality of your content is what we call your reputation. You have next to your name, this little number here, mine is currently 64, so you see that little 64, that's my reputation number. So that's pretty good. That indicates that I've written a lot of posts, I've got a lot of high upvotes, and from other people that have got a good reputation. I can't go into the details exactly of how this score is calculated, but I can tell you the more upvotes you get and the higher value upvotes you get, and you get upvotes from people with high reputation, that score is going to start climbing. And that score indicates to people that your content is of a reasonable quality. So we have someone I think has got the highest score of 80, a reputation of 80, that indicate that his work is really, really good. And we've got other people that have got scores of down to 0. And if you've got down to 0, it normally indicates that your content is either very, very low quality or you're here just to spam, basically. And then you get what we call downvotes. And downvotes actually reduces your reputation. If you get down below 0, then your content actually becomes hidden. It's kind of a form of censorship, but you can still access that in a way. There's a button that actually unhides it, so it doesn't completely disappear and it's not completely censored. But reputation does have some value in a sense that you can get better visibility, in a sense people are more likely to click on your content if you've got a higher reputation score. So now I'm going to explain who people are in terms of their rank, and this is based on your Steem power and the number of vests that you hold. So in Steem, I think we have 4 or 5 categories. We've got the red fish, which is right at the bottom. That's like your newbies that have just come in, haven't invested in Steem yet, and have very, very little money invested in Steem power. Then your next level, you have your minnows, and we talk about minnows all the time. You get a Steem, minnow this, minnow that, minnow support, minnow all this sort of stuff. These are, again, people that are new to the platform, have made a little bit of money and starting to grow a little bit, probably haven't invested too much. Next level for minnow is the dolphin, and that's myself. And dolphins, generally people who have bought Steem. You can get to dolphin by earning money. It'll take quite a while. I think you need to get up to about 5,000 Steem power, I think it is. I bought up pretty much most of mine. I'm probably close to now 5,000 Steem power. So if I hadn't invested any, I probably would be kind of up to that dolphin level anyway. And in the future, you probably see quite a few dolphins here. Going up another level, and these are like quite big time investors who are called orcas. I think you put in about 50,000 Steem, I think it is, or greater, somewhere around that, 50,000 Steem power. So these people are really quite heavily invested, and depending on what the price of Steem is at the time, you could be looking into hundreds of thousands of dollars invested into the Steem platform. So yeah, these people have quite a holding, and they'll be very interested in terms of what is getting onto the front page of Steemit and how it's promoted. And the top level would be your whales, and there's very, very few whales. I think there's currently about 35 or 36 whales. And these are accounts that have a value of over 500,000 Steem, I think it is. If I check my numbers, about 500,000 Steem, that's a lot of money. So talking about probably around $1 million US worth invested in the Steem platform. And these people have a lot of say in terms of what happens. And in a sense that is fair enough, because whatever happens here affects their investment. So it's a decentralized platform. I don't think I mentioned that, that's an important feature of Steemit. But there is a certain tendency, people might think there's a certain level of centralization. Potentially, I guess. The whales can influence a lot of what's happening on there, but they're acting within the interest of the Steem platform in the sense that they want the price of Steem to increase. And if you're coming into Steem, you're probably not going to be a whale. You may become an orca one day, but a whale there's only ever going to be a few whales on the platform, and we'll probably actually have less whales 4 or 5 years from now, because a lot of them would have started selling out and moving on to other investment opportunities. You can probably see the growth I would have thought would be in your dolphins, where I am right now. Okay, so what else do you want to know about? There's witnesses, and this is an area I haven't discussed earlier. I talked about roles on Steemit. I didn't mention witnesses. Their role is very important. Most people coming onto Steemit, newbies, probably not thinking about becoming a witness themselves immediately, maybe later on. And also there's developers, and I'm going to talk about developers. No, I'm going to talk about developers? Nah, so I'm not going to talk about developers. That's a little bit beyond the scope of this video. But if you want to know, if you're a developer and you want to get involved in the Steem platform, I think if you go to @Ned, I think he's got a post talking about positions that are being advertised. And also you look at the Steemit website, I think there, if you click on the side, there's a drop-down menu that has the jobs on Steemit that could be role developing. And also you can also go to Utopian website, that has a lot more information for developers. And that's all I'm going to talk about developers in this video. I'm going to talk about witnesses now. Getting witnesses is actually very important, because witnesses help the Steem platform to grow. In a sense, they've got their own initiatives, and they're doing various different things. Like they could be working with the bots. I'll talk about the bots later. They could be looking on a new application. There's lots and lots of different things, and you want to get your witness. You click, as you can see here in the picture, you click it's the right side, and you go down and you'll see something called witnesses. You click on that, and then you'll have a list of, I think, the top 50 witnesses or something along those lines. I think it's the top 50. And then I think if you go to Steem Data Witnesses, I think that has all of the witnesses on there. So what you do is you click on the witnesses that you want to support, and you can get information about them by clicking on the little link to the right hand side of their name, and that will take you to an external website or to a post that they put up, and they describe all the stuff that they're involved with and they're doing. And it's very important that you pick the witnesses you like and the activities that they're doing that you like, because that affects their funding. And if you see, you get the top, I think about the top 20 witnesses, it could be earning like about 10,000 US dollars a month. I think so. It's quite a bit of money that's going in there. So it is very important, because that's a lot of money. I think it's about 10, is it 10? About 10 to 15%, I can't remember now, 10 or 15% of your newly created Steem actually goes to these witnesses. So it's very important you decide where this money goes, and it's important to click on those links as well. And also the witnesses, they also do stuff beyond the initiatives. They also take care of the blockchain as well. I can't go into too much detail on that because I don't really know too much. I'm not a witness myself, but you can actually, there's a link, I think there is, I think it's Steem database or steem.com. You can actually go on there and have a look in terms of what they do in relation to the blockchain. Alright, so what next? Promotion. I think I'll talk about promotion. Yes, I'll talk about promotion next. So what you're going to do is when you create your content, it's not going to be immediately found. You need to build extra work. So when I first joined, the biggest thing seemed to be going to Steem chat. And there's like lots and lots of chat rooms, and then you put your link in there, and people go to the chat rooms or find it. And there's also something called the Discord app. Similar sort of thing, there's lots of chat rooms and you can drop your link in there. You can engage with different people, you can leave different comments and stuff like that, inform people about what you're doing. That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is getting re-steamed. And people might come along and they like it and they think, oh, I like your post, it's good. So what they do is they re-steam it, and a re-steam is reposting your blog, your post, onto their page. And people could do that voluntarily, you can't control that, or you can actually use re-steam services, and effectively you'll pay a certain amount of money and they'll put it on their page. And re-steam services usually have a lot of followers. Have to be warned though, they often get their followers by following lots of people, so it's a follow sort of thing, so you may not get as much exposure as you would hope. Another thing you can do is you can use external websites, external platforms. Like, you go to the bottom of your post, you've got these little app buttons. So I think we've got Reddit, we've got Facebook, we've got LinkedIn, and we have Twitter. So what you can do is you click on those, and then a little screen will come up, and then you can put your post in there, write a little bit of description about it, and then post it to these other external websites. A lot of the people that will see it there probably don't have Steem accounts, so you're not going to get a lot of upvotes out of it, but it's not worthless. Simply because people that see it might think, wow, Steem's great, your post is great, I'm going to go and join. You create awareness, and again, this whole thing about attention. So if these people join up, maybe even if like a small percentage, so I'm like, when I put my stuff on Facebook, I get exposure to like sometimes several thousand people see it. I don't know how many of these people eventually sign up, but I'm sure a small percentage do. And then some of these people may not have ever heard of Steemit before and think, wow, this is a great idea, and they might actually go in and invest some money. So, you know, it's a bit of hit and miss. I'm not saying it's necessarily going to pay off immediately. It may not pay off for a very long time, but it's still definitely worth doing. Another thing you can do to promote your post is use the bots, and there are lots of bots in Steemit. You sign up for Steemit, put your first post out there, you get a hello, welcome bot. You put a comment, sometimes a nice bot comes along and gives you a nice little upvote, randomly upvotes your comments, or even randomly upvotes your posts. So they're sort of all around doing lots of stuff. You've got bots monitoring plagiarism and quality of content. You've got abuse reports, checking that, make sure you're not doing anything, you know, a little bit dodgy, iffy sort of stuff. So yeah, along those side of things. But what I'm going to talk about is the bots used for promotional use. So what you can do is you can actually buy upvotes from bots. So you pay a certain amount of money. If you go to, I got a link in this post, I've also got a link in my other post. You click on that and it gives you all the information about the bots where you can buy upvotes and how much you need to pay and what kind of return you get. And there's also another type of bot called the bid bots, and you could get very, very high upvotes on that. But there's a bit of luck involved with that. And potentially you could lose money if you bid on a bot where lots and lots of people bid and put lots of money on that. So you could get a negative return or you could get a very positive return. But you have to bear in mind that the purpose of the bid bots is not to try and make some quick money out of it. Because the way the bots are at the moment, you're probably more likely to make a loss than actually make money. But the key is to use it to get exposure. And that can put you on your related tag hot and trending pages. So to get on a trending page, like for your particular tag, you probably need to throw in quite a bit of money into the bots, but that is where you get exposure and that's where people get to know you. That add value to your post, so you get, and people might follow you. And if you get followers, that is not just going to affect your current post, but future posts as well. So even if you don't get many people upvoting the post you put out, they may look at your page and may start upvoting some of your other posts. So using the bots is a very interesting way of promoting your content. There's a lot of controversy about it. There's a lot of people that don't like the bots because people are spending a lot of money and getting their stuff promoted isn't always quality. The theory is people that want to invest in promotion are more likely to have a high quality content because they're putting money into it. But anyway, I'll leave the debate up to some of the other people, and this is not debating bots for this post, though I may get into that in another post. Okay, so what else do you want to do to help yourself if you're a content creator? Something called verification. And that is interesting because when you join Steem, you get a Steem account, you're anonymous. People don't know who you are. You don't need to provide any identification. You don't need to show off your passport. You don't need to show off your IDs or any of that stuff. You can just join. I think you just need your email and phone number. And that's okay. Some investors like to remain anonymous. That's fine. That's just part of one of the features of Steem. Personally though, I think if you're a content creator, you probably need to get your name out there because people want to have some confidence in the content you're producing. Like, I'm an economist and I've written many papers. I presented at many conferences, so I've got a pretty good reputation outside the platform as an economist, and I want people to know that. So what do? I provide a link to my YouTube channel. I've got lots of videos, you can see, and they verify who I am. I've also got Steem Cleaners. I think I'm not sure how that worked, but Steem Cleaners has looked into my other social media, because I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Reddit and Instagram and a few others. And LinkedIn is probably a very good one if you want to check me out, because that's got all of my stuff down there, the jobs I've done, my relevant experience, and it's got links to my papers as well, just to verify to you that I am who I'm saying I am, and that I am truly an economist, and that I can produce very good content. And a lot of this content is being produced exclusively for Steemit. So again, if you have a particular qualification site and you want to bring the skill set, let people know about it, let people know who you are. And that is a great way for people to really understand, the quality that you can produce. And it's also good for other people not on the platform yet. And you look at it and say, well, who's this guy? And say, this guy's a professional economist. He's written 10 papers. He's presented in Germany. He's written papers for the US. He's done stuff in Australia. He's got stuff published in Asia. It's like, wow, this guy's on this platform, Interesting. And it will attract people to the platform, as well as attract people to your posts and give you more upvotes, and hence you earning more money. Again, this could be more of a long-term sort of thing, won't happen overnight, but it's a good way for people to have confidence in what you're saying and doing. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more now about the blockchain. The blockchain in itself is really interesting, and in a sense that it was not fully cryptocurrency, you probably don't know what a blockchain is. It's basically just a chain of blocks of data. It doesn't sound too fantastic, but it is brilliant in the sense that it allows this transparency. Pretty much, absolutely everything that goes on the Steem platform is recorded in these blocks. And you can go in and you can have a look, okay, this person's done this, that, and this. It's all the accounts, it's wow, all this information is there. It creates this brilliant transparency, and investors love that because they know exactly what's going on. There's no dodgy business behind the scenes, secret meetings and boardrooms, It's all created and stored on the blockchain. Even stuff that you created and you delete it. I could write a comment and say, you're a moron, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I didn't like that, delete. You know what? You can look in there and say, he wrote that guy's a moron, and he deleted it. It's still there on the blockchain, so it records everything. And it's a real window to what is actually happening. That is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so what am I going to talk about now? Let's say self-voting, I think is next on my list. What is self-voting? When you create a post, you can vote for your own post. So you can use the rewards pool, to give it to yourself. And some people frown upon that. Most people don't if you've got really good content. And you can promote yourself. You think, well, if my content is adding value to the community, adding value to people out there, I can give it an upvote, and that's okay. But you kind of need to do it within reason. You're not going to create 10 posts a day or upvote them to the maximum of your voting power, because if you're writing 10 posts a day, obviously you're not going to be of that kind of quality. So, maybe you can post every day and upvote every one of them. That probably isn't a big deal. As long as it's good quality posts, of course. You don't want to write one simple one-liners like, upvote. Yeah, you're kind of asking for trouble. The same with comments as well. You can upvote your own comments. Upvoting comments, personally, I feel it's only necessary if it's a very detailed, you consider quite a valuable comment, sure, give an upvote. Or if you want the comment to rise up the thread, get towards the top because they're ranked according to value. So again, you'd want to do that. And again, a lot of people with the very high Steem power, they often decline rewards and then give themselves a big upvote. So you don't get the reward, but you get the exposure, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later as well. So you've got to be careful with self-voting. And if people think that you're a chronic self-voter, you're going to be hit with some downvotes, and in the long run, that's going to hurt. So sure, self-vote yourself, but be generous enough to give other people upvotes as well. And in terms of numbers, you can actually upvote, I think it's about 10 full upvotes a day, about every 2.5 hours, you'd regenerate one upvote, and that's another feature of Steem that I want to talk about. Is it a place to talk about it here? Yeah, I'll talk about it here anyway. So in effect, you can't just continuously, you can write 2-word comment, upvote 2-word comment, upvote 2-word comment, and 1,000 times you can't do that. Simply because your Steem power actually drops every time you upvote, and it takes about 2.5 hours to get back to that full steam power. So that effectively gives you 10 full upvotes in one day at full power. So that's something to bear in mind. You can't just basically rob the rewards pool by doing that. So effectively, the rewards pool and it's kind of linked to what you can take out in terms of how much steam power you have. So the more steam power you have, the higher the upvote, and the more you can pull out in terms of self-voting. But like I said before, it's good to use those upvotes and other content as well as promote the platform itself. And if you have a lot of steam power, you're more interested in the price of Steem going up rather than necessarily collecting more Steem, because you already have so much Steem, right? If you're a big investor, so it's not going to add much to it if it's not gaining any value, or if it's even losing value. You could be losing money by doing that anyway. So self-voting from that point of view is a pretty bad idea if you have a lot of money invested in the Steem platform. Right, now I'm going to talk about sending money to null and also decline payout. So you notice some people will have this like line struck through the payment. That's what we call a decline payout. That's often done for things like service announcements by witnesses and all. You want people to know what's going on and what's happening, but you don't necessarily want a payment for that because it's not adding to the community in itself, but it's an important announcement, you know what I mean? And it could be like a very short post. A lot of people may want to upvote that to give it attention, but they don't want the payout. Or it could be from someone who's very high up in Steem, like the CEO, for example, and he wants to, let people know important information, but he doesn't necessarily want to receive the payout. He'd rather the money stay in the rewards pool, so he'll decline payout. Another option is what we call sending your money to null. So it's just like any regular post. You post, you get your payout, there's creation rewards and stuff like that. And what you do once the post is paid out, you send the money to null, and that is money that's destroyed. So it doesn't go back in the rewards pool, it's destroyed, it's gone, no one can use that. Effectively, it's gone from the rewards pool. Kind of like, it's gone, can't be used. It's a little bit different from decline payout, which people can effectively goes back in the rewards pool and can go into other posts. Alright, now I want to talk about delegation, and this is important if you have a lot of Steem power. And imagine that you have 1 million Steem. Potentially that could be a lot of work if you want to, use your Steem power to promote content. So what you might want to do is you might find someone that you trust, someone you think is pretty dedicated to the platform, and you delegate it to them, and then they can make effort to actually find quality content using your Steem power, since if you don't have the time to do it yourself, which is quite possible. You could have invested and you've got other activities in your life. And you could do it to many, many people. You could have several hundred people that you're delegating your Steem power to. You could do it based on trust, and they're going to look for the right content. Or you could charge them a fee to use it, because they're earning curation rewards, remember, from the Steem power that they've got. So that's one way of doing it. Quite popular at the moment is those with a lot of Steem power are delegating to bots, and the bots earn the money through vote selling, and that money returns back later on to the owners. It gets paid out by the bots to them. That's one way of doing that. It's often done in SBD. That's right, I haven't talked about SBD, I'll talk about that in a minute, Steemit dollars. And what else can you do? Oh, you can support initiatives as well, various initiatives you can delegate your Steem power to, so effectively they have more money and they can earn curation rewards to support their initiatives. Okay, so I didn't mention it earlier, when you get paid out in Steemit dollars and also in Steem power. You can choose to get your payment 100% Steem power, so it just goes straight back into your Steem power, which basically boosts your investment in the company, or you can take 50% Steem power and 50% SBD. And what a Steemit dollar is, it is something that has been pegged, well previously was pegged to the US dollar, so that gives you a form of stable income. At the moment it is sort of a bit of a work in progress. It's now sort of, the value depends more on market forces than it did previously. It's no longer pegged. The pegging obviously proved to be very difficult, but it's somewhere near the $1 mark now anyway, so I can't say where that's going to go in the future, but it was meant to add some sort of stability and reduce the risk of fluctuations in Steem. It may not necessarily be doing that at the moment, but that's going to be an interesting development to see what happens with that. Alright, another thing I want to talk about, which hasn't really been happening too much at the moment on the Steem platform, but something I would expect would happen, and if you're an investor you'd be very interested in that, and that is advertising. What do I mean by advertising? You see it on a lot of the media, social media, you see it on Facebook, you see it on YouTube and stuff like that, in various forms. And why is Steemit a potentially good place for advertisers? Well, there's a few ways you can go about it. So advertisers can get a Steem account, generate an advert or something. This is just one approach. And then they can use bots to promote that and get it higher up on the trending list and get greater exposure. I don't necessarily think this is going to be overly popular. Another way, you can do the same thing. Instead of using bots, so you can just invest their own Steem power. That sounds better. Remember, more investors, the higher the value of the price of Steem is going to be. So again, you could do something similar. I still don't think that's going to be the most popular route. What I'm thinking is probably what's going to happen, and probably have people have different opinions on this, is that investors are going to have a look and they're going to think, you see some people that are producing very interesting content and they're thinking, well, that content could relate to the product I'm advertising. So you see a Steem star at the moment, you think, okay, that person's getting like 500,000 views or something. It's like, wow. So what you do is you can invest in Steem, buy some Steem, or even use a bid bot and give that person, let's say, some sort of banner or some sort of link that they could actually put in their own post, and then they can support that person by upvoting them or buying bots and stuff like that. And effectively, that could be a very cheap way of advertising, especially if that person is already on the trending page as it is. So you may only need to give them a little bit of a boost and you get that massive exposure. A lot of people are not going to be interested in just clicking on a post that's a pure advertisement. But it's good quality content, they're reading, see little adverts and here, there, and whatever, as long as it's not too intrusive, could be a good way of advertising. And we see that on Facebook and YouTube and all of adverts popping up. So that could be a way to do that. Or they may want to invest a whole load of Steem, bring in their own team of people that are writing content. You could have professional writers in there that are working with this company, and they could be, putting their adverts in there as well. So that could all be set up too. So there's a number of ways of doing that, and I think advertising is something that is eventually going to come to the Steem platform. Some people won't like it, but it's a way of generating revenue. It's a way of raising the price of Steem. So if you're heavily invested in Steem, you should probably think advertisers coming in could potentially be a good thing, and it's going to raise the value of your investment. And now I want to talk to you about what I call the virtue of Steem power. And a lot of you would know that Steem is traded like any other regular cryptocurrency. You got people buying, you got people selling, you got bids, those are people buying putting bids, and those are people selling putting asks. And if you have lots and lots of bids and fewer asks, what happens is the price goes up. And if you have a lot more asks than there are bids, the price starts to go down. And what's brilliant about Steem power is that it has a power down period of 3 months. So if you own Steem power, you think, I'm fed up with this, you can't just sell it all and run. It's like, I'm panicked, sell and run. No, you've got to wait 3 months to get it all down. And I think it comes out every week, a certain amount, there's like 13 installments. And it takes a while to get out of it. So people panicking like crazy can't just sell. So it's going to put a cap on the number of asks that you're going to have. And essentially, it's going to prevent the value of Steem dropping too rapidly. And this is also good as well because it adds stability, and people are less likely to come in looking for speculation. They're more likely to come in to want to truly invest and put their money in Steem power. And we're seeing this at the moment. I think about 2/3 of Steem is actually held in Steem power, and only 1/3 is in liquid Steem. So this tells me that people are interested in investing and not for speculation. And investment is what we want, not speculation. And Steem power helps keep that investment stronger, the idea of investment stronger, not speculation, and also prevents the fall in the price of Steem power and Steem as a whole. At the moment, the site I mentioned, and this is relating to the control of Steem, and people thinking, is it truly decentralized? And there's a bit of tossing and turning on that. I think it is decentralized, and it's going to become more and more decentralized. But at the moment, I mentioned there's 35 whales, as we call them, the whale accounts, and they hold a very large proportion of the Steem. So they have a lot of money invested. And a lot of those accounts are not here to control the platform. As you've got Steem Inc., I think controls about close to 40% of the Steem power. That is very, very powerful, but they do not really get involved, or even at all, to be honest with you, involved in daily activities. So they're keeping out of it. They could form a censorship role if they wanted to. They could change how things are, but they generally want the free market to operate. And that's sort of the agreement with a lot of the current whales, is they don't want to get too heavily involved in terms of controlling what happens. You know what I mean? Of course they want to promote good quality content and stuff like that, but it is not so much turning it into a centralized dictatorship. Though potentially with having a concentration of wealth of a few people, there is a risk extent that could happen. But how I foresee it is, as the platform matures and the price of Steem increases, a lot of the big investors, the whales, are going to start selling some of their Steem, and we're going to see more people in the dolphin and maybe orca categories, and which is going to be good for the platform when it's matured, because you're going to have a lot more votes out there, if you know what I mean, from different people. You won't be relying on just several sources of whales. And an indication that that could happen is a sense that a lot of delegation is taking place. A lot of the whales don't want to hold on to the wealth themselves, but they delegate elsewhere. So it's just a good sign that they're not trying to take control of the platform. They are delegating to others so that they can do stuff with the Steem power as well. So don't feel overly worried about this whole centralization of power that a lot of people are worried about. Well, again, we'll see what happens in 3 or 4 years' time, but I feel confident that it holds that decentralized status that people talk about. Alright, now I want to talk about the pages at the top of Steem. At the top you have trending, new, hot, promoted. What do all these mean? So trending is kind of got the reputation of being the front page of Steemit. In a sense that when people go to Steemit for the first time, you go to the trending page. That's cool. So it gets a lot of attention. So it's very important what is on that trending page. You need to have the best content on there, because that's going to attract people to the platform, and that's great. And that's why whales come in and they have their upvotes, more upvotes on the good stuff to get it on that trending page, as well as you get a lot of the bot content at the moment actually on there too, so it gets people a little bit worried. So if you're doing really, really well as a content creator, you'll be on that trending page. Another page is the hot page. And the hot page is content that is done particularly well at the very beginning. So within the first few hours, you've got a lot of really good high upvotes, you get on the hot page. But hot page material only lasts for maybe about 4 hours at tops, I think. It's not very long. And if your content continues to get upvotes, it will go to the trending page, which it could be on the trending page for several days. So again, it's all about getting exposure. And there's several ways of getting exposure, as I mentioned earlier, to get you onto the trending or the hot page. The new page, as soon as your content's created, it goes to the new page. Literally within seconds, it's going to drop kind of right off the front of the new page, because there's new content being created all the time. So it doesn't really give you an awful lot of exposure. And then there's the promoted page. And this, I didn't talk about this with promotion. It's a little bit different from the other forms of promotion. What you do is if you want to promote your content, I think there's a promote button, and you decide how much money you want to spend on promotion. And the content that's got the most money spent on promotion goes to the top of the promoted list. So it doesn't depend on number of upvotes, it doesn't depend on how long it's been out, and also it doesn't depend on the value of the upvotes. It doesn't depend on any of that stuff other than the amount you spent on promotion. And you don't get that money back in upvotes. Basically that money is just gone. In fact, it actually goes to null, as I mentioned earlier. So the money is actually burnt, so it's taken from the rewards pool. So that is another way of promoting your content. It's not particularly popular at the moment, so I'm not sure where that's going to go, but that is another option if you want to do that. Another thing that's important you've got to take note of, and this is both for creators as well as content creators, and that is tags. You need to have the right tags to get your content recognized. Like I use my economics tags because it's rated economics. I'm going to be using the Steem and the Steemit tag for this video because it is related to Steem and Steemit, and it's relevant to that. And what some people might do is they see a popular tag and just throw it in. That's a bad idea, simply because people look at that and say, nah, this is not related, you could very well get a downvote. So you want to get recognized by the people that want to see that type of content. So if someone wants to see economics, they'll look under the economics tag and they'll see me. That's awesome. Like if I put photographs and they look on there, people look at photographs and see, what's this economics stuff? They're not going to upvote it, so there's no point in doing that, even if it is a popular tag. The same thing for creators as well. If you're thinking, hey, I want to find some good content on what? Let me have a look. Here we go, photographs. I like photographs. Boom. There you go. You see all the posts related to photographs. And it has their own trending and hot list as well. Same with travel. Travel is very, very popular at the moment on Steemit. So you click on travel and you see your top travel posts. It's awesome. So tags are very important. You need to use them correctly. And like I said, people could end up downvoting if you use them incorrectly. Another thing I want to talk about is the feed. So once you've decided to follow people, that means you see a post, you like the post, you think the person's content is good, you click follow. And these people's posts will come in your feed whenever they post something new. So I recommend that you only follow the people that you're really, really interested in their content. I know you can be tempted sometimes, people say follow for follow. Trust me, that stuff doesn't work. Because your follow list will just get so long, the feed will be coming through all the time, and you lose the stuff you really want to see. So just keep it relevant to the content creators that you're really interested in. Try not to bother with this follow for follow, because the same thing again, their follow list will get cluttered too, and they won't really upvote many of your posts anyway. So yeah, so pick the people you really want and they come in your feed, and that's great. And also you supplement that occasionally looking at the trending and hot lists as well to try and find that content you really like. Okay, I'm coming towards the end of this video now. Yeah, it seems a little bit long, but this is something important and something that I think I need to address. A lot of people are worried because of Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin falls. Pretty much all the other cryptocurrencies, the alt currencies, they fall as well. And there's quite a strong connection between Bitcoin and the other alternative currencies. And that is, especially in the short run, there's a very close correlation in the short run. It's generally because it is the gateway cryptocurrency. You want to get into cryptocurrency? Most people go into Bitcoin, and in some countries that's the only cryptocurrency they can access directly. And then they have the Bitcoin, and then they buy the other cryptocurrencies through various exchanges and stuff like that. So I buy Ethereum, I get in that way. So again, you'd see a common relationship to that. So the price of Bitcoin falling, you'd probably see the price of the other currencies falling as well. As we've seen with Steem, the price is lower as well. And that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the platform itself, simply because of that relationship, or should I say short-term relationship to Bitcoin. As you can see here in the graph, and this is looking at the correlation. You see the correlation is very high. I don't have Steem on here, but we've got other things like Ethereum, Litecoin, we've got Ripple I can see on there. What else can you see on my camera? Recognize, yet I'm not a crypto expert by the way, I don't know a lot of these cryptocurrencies, but I do know there is a strong correlation in the short run. This is 90 days. But in the long run, it's a different story. There's still, after 365 days, a year, a certain positive correlation, so one goes up, the others follow, but it is much weaker. Like look at Ethereum, it's not 0.9, it's 0.67, so that correlation is much weaker. And if the Steem platform is performing well with great content and stuff like that, you could see Steem potentially still going up even if Bitcoin is falling. So don't worry too much about the correlation. You should be more worried about the quality of the content, the quality of the platform in regards to how you want to invest. And the fact that Bitcoin is low at the moment and it's lowered the price of Steem, this is a great chance for investors to come in and buy up Steem. Trust me, it's going to go up simply because of all these new things happening on the Steem platform, all these new developments, all these new applications, and the number of users are going up all the time. So that should be an indication of the popularity of the platform, even if the number of the price of Steem is actually falling. Like I said, that's a short-term relationship. You need to look at it in terms of the long run. And in the long run so far, you go back 2 years, Steem was down, it was at a price of about 10 cents, I think it was even lower than that. So you can see it's over $1 at the moment. That's still 10 times higher. It's not at the highest when it was, I think, $7 or $8, but again, a lot of that's related to the correlation with the other cryptocurrencies. Alright, sort of come to the end of this video. If you're still hanging in there, I certainly hope that you are, and hopefully you'll be interested in joining the Steem platform. So I'm just going to summarize what I've covered so far. So Steemit, basically that's the face of the Steem platform. There's another website called Busy, somewhat similar, performs somewhat similar functions. I keep with Steemit, it's there first and I'm more comfortable with it. There's lots of other applications and stuff that you can use for content creators such as DLive, DTube, Zapple, Steepshot, something called Steem Hunt, and all these stuff is coming up. So all various different things on the Steem platform. All of these you can earn Steem with your content, and a few of them be changing a little bit different. It's got something known as smart media tokens. So this it's going to be along similar lines again as to Steem. It's just a slightly different way of earning, and all of this can then be converted back to Steem. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work with all the various applications, but it's certainly going to be very interesting. And hopefully, if you're out there and you don't know much about Steem, hopefully this has been quite informative to you, and hopefully, you'll be encouraged to come here and create some content and give it a go. Or if you got some money invested somewhere, you could have gold. I used to invest in quite a bit of gold. It didn't really go anywhere, but trust me, with Steem, you may buy some Steem and it could drop quite a bit. Okay, I can't tell you, but in the future, you look further ahead 2-3 years, there's a very good chance your investment is going to be worth quite a lot more. So as an investor, I would say that's definitely worth it. And also, if you're going to be an investor, put in some work with curation, check out what content's out there, try and get the best content to the top. So thank you. This takes me to the end of this video, and if you're watching this on Steemit, great guys. I think this is going to be on DTube. Also, if you're watching this from YouTube, remember to give me, I think it's YouTube for so long, I think it's a like, isn't it? Throw in a comment and a follow. Or is it, yeah, follow, is it follow? Oh, subscribe, sorry, YouTube. And if you're on Steemit, of course, you would give me your upvote, give me a nice big upvote, show that tick of approval, follow me as well, and throw in some comments, ask any questions you like, I'm open to that. Also, if I happen to say anything that's a little bit incorrect, generally this is not meant to be a technical video in any sort, but just to give you a gist of all the stuff that's happening on the platform, as well as the roles you can take on the platform and how it operates. I want to give people just a quick reminder that Steem isn't coming out of the air. This Steem, the rewards pool is created, and this creation of the rewards pool, dilutes the stake of existing investors. So effectively, the existing investors are indirectly paying you for your content, if you want to look at it that way. It's a little bit roundabout, but trust me, nothing just falls out of the air. You don't have to worry about it being some sort of scam. This is a real currency, Steem, and you can trade it and you can earn actual money back. And the value that you get at the bottom is an average, I think it is. It tells you the value of your account average over like 4 or 5 days. I think Busy gives you another number. I think that might not be the average. So there's several ways of looking at it. But yes, if you have Steem, you want to get out of it, you can sell it and you will get real money. It's not a game, it's a real thing. Anyway, thank you for watching my video. And hopefully I'll see more of you. Check out my account if you want to know more about economics. If you're interested in contests, I've got several contests on there. I've got one running at the moment, which is a buying and selling trading game. Anyway, thank you. See you later.